And with us right now, we've got Ian Peterman. Ian, you are the founder and CEO of Peterman Design Firm. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Josh. Appreciate it.
So what made you decide to put your name on the side of the building? Why Peterman Design Firm?
Well, it actually worked out. The acronym for the company name is PDF, and we do a lot of work with Adobe products. So that was kind of a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek there.
Yeah.
And other pieces, my name is unique.
Yeah.
In the design space, so it was easy to have the name put up there.
Well, Ayn Rand would be pleased as well. She's a big fan of putting your name on your stuff. So
Yeah.
So how did you get into this? What we're going to talk about is kind of how someone can launch their product or business. If they have a concept for something, this is kind of what you do. Can you kind of explain exactly like who you work with and what are some of the, I'm on your website right now, so I see some beautiful things that you've helped get put together.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Can you just kind of give me a kind of a quick overview of what Peterman does?
Yeah, so what we are is a full service concept to cash flow. And we work with clients to design, develop, engineer, find and build a supply chain, and actually then launch a product with the right branding. We have connections with marketing, and then making sure that after you invest all that money in designing and developing a product, you actually launch it successfully and have a return on that investment.
Yeah. So say, for example, like looking at some things that in your portfolio, which is kind of fun to see all the things that you've helped design. So I'm looking like I'm seeing here like a canister, a stackable mobile canister system, a scrubbing brush, a sailboat, a kayak sailing system.
Yep, that was a fun one.
What's that?
That was a fun one, the kayak sailing project.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so where do you come in? So are people just kind of showing up and they're like, okay, I have this idea in my head. Is that where they usually come in, or are they a little bit more advanced than that?
It ranges. So I definitely work with people that are just, at that, I have an idea, and I'll do basically an idea review session with them of just, okay, you have an idea. Let's go over it. Let's see how possible this is. What's the market look like? What is it going to cost to actually develop? So I work with like early stage, more of the inventor types that are just constantly coming up with new ideas, and help them figure out, should we go after it? Should we develop it? Is it worth the time? And strategies based on should patenting happen, things like that.
Yeah.
Kind of give them some direction on, because there's so many different routes to go in developing a product. So definitely do that space, and then also work with companies that are more solution centered. So they're look more for, hey, we either have a gap in our product line and we need something that goes here, and they're not sure what, and so we actually do more market research and design research to figure out what is a good product, what's the market, what's something that's going to fit into that market. And then the third kind of direction that people have is they have a problem. So they just come to me and they say, hey, there's this problem. I can't do X. There's no tool, there's no product that does what I need to have happen.
Right.
I have no idea what the product is going to be. But I just need something that's going to do and accomplish Y, and what is that? And so then we develop a product that actually just does whatever that is that they're looking for.
So it sounds like to me, Ian, that you have a certain set of skills, and then you also know a lot of people, and yes. So you can provide some guidance through, hey, we have a partner who does IP law, and they can kind of help make sure that you can get your patent and trademark taken care of, things like that.
Yeah, so we have a core set of skills, so to speak, that we do basically all the design work, all the design, engineering, that kind of portion of it. Mm-hmm. And then is through the last 15 years of doing product development, I know or can source manufacturers. We have some patent attorneys. We have marketing that we work with, PR that we work with, you know, so the whole breadth of all the ancillary things that, you know, you're about, oh, I'm going to design a new product. That's the core piece, but then you have all these other components, and we either work with people that we've worked with before. So we have our own basically list of approved people we know do good work. And for the ones that we run into that need something really specialized, or just unique that we haven't touched before, we go and source and find the right person to do that job.
Yeah. How is this you know, in your experience in working with clients, how does this solve a major problem for founders?
So in my experience with founders, you know, they have a good idea and they might have a little bit of experience, but a lot of people that come up with new ideas for products are not product developers. They haven't worked in the space. And so really the problem that we're solving is that when you have an idea and you don't know how to do it, it's going to be either really expensive or really painful, or you're going to fail in the end. And so what we do is I bring my experiences and our vendors and all of my team and say, okay, well, we actually have done this before. We know how to do this. And so we walk the client through and say, hey, this is your idea. You know, we're not here to take your idea. This is yours. And we're just going to help you take that all the way through to where you have a successful product at the end. And so it's basically that gap in experience and knowledge and tools. You know, we have multi-$1,000 software that we run, and we have, you know, 3D printing that we have access to, and, you know, all the tooling and things like that is prohibitively expensive if you were to just buy everything or try to do it all yourself. And so that's what we bring, is a complete package of tools, experience, and knowledge to launch a product.
So how did you as the founder come up with this kind of you know, design services, but then just kind of this hub to everything that you need for launch?
It really came about from my experience starting out. So when I started out as a designer, I ended up being put in charge of basically the supply chain, and that expanded. I was partnered at a design firm before, and we brought in branding and marketing and things like that. And so I've just, over time, I've experienced the entire process from concept to cash flow of products, and all the vendors it takes, how, you know, each discipline required to do it. And so, and in doing contract work and working with startups, is realizing that they mostly just don't know all the pieces even required to really launch a product successfully. Right. You know, it's not that there's like a smoke and mirrors and magic behind it. It's just there's a huge wealth of knowledge you have to have in order to successfully do something like that. And so with talking to those clients and finding out their needs, it's a lot of startup, inventor, you know, early stage. They really need a bunch of different components brought together, and there's value, a lot of value for especially people in the startup space that maybe don't have project managers on staff, and they don't have, you know, this management team ready to manage 15 different vendors to be able to bring something together. That's where I bring value, is that I can basically be their project management on top of actually designing, because I can be a single point of contact for everyone that's needed.
And I would imagine, Ian, that you absolutely can save someone a lot of time. Ultimately, do you feel like you can also save them money?
The way we save money is by avoiding easy mistakes that we've already had and figured out. It's vetting manufacturers properly. There's a lot of, you know, we've been dealing with manufacturers, and the Kickstarter world has really shown this. It's really easy to go talk to a manufacturer and say, hey, can you do this? And they say yes, but you know, did they actually vet them? Can they actually do it? Can they deliver on time? And those will all add up pretty heavily to, if you can't deliver your product to your customers when you say you're going to, you're going to have customer service issues. If it's not a good product, you're going to have, how many returns are you going to be dealing with? Are you going to be replacing everything? Not that most products are a level of automobiles, but when you look at like when Toyota makes a mistake or some car maker makes a mistake, now they're recalling millions of cars. Right. So if you're one of those that has a really ambitious, huge idea, it's even more important that you put everything together properly. You test it, you make sure you validate everything. And that all takes time and it takes experience to be able to, look at parts, inspect prototypes, and know when people are going to be able to deliver what they're supposed to deliver. And having backups, that's the other thing I run into is people are like, oh, I have a manufacturer, and they'll hit a space where that manufacturer is like, well, that was a year ago, we're backlogged, we can't manufacture anything for you for another 6 months. And they didn't think to have a backup manufacturer in case that happened or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where experience would be exceptionally valuable in this. I mean, a couple of things. Number one, we live in an era where you can't get away with a bad product. It's just not going to. You might might be able to get a bunch of sales, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's consumers.
Maybe 6 weeks.
Really. I mean, we just have way too much. Consumers rely way too heavily upon the reviews of other consumers, and other consumers, if there's a problem with the product, trust me, they'll let you know. And, there can't be anything more frustrating than dumping $20,000 into, manufacturing a pallet full of product and then come to find out it's defective. I know that this especially can be an issue with overseas manufacturing, and I'm sure have some experience with that.
Yes, yeah, and there's a whole nother component of language barrier and making sure, and even with U.S. companies, making sure that everybody actually understands what needs to be made, and making sure you have good tech specs, good drawings, good just understanding of both the product and what's going to actually be delivered. So there's definitely been some times that I've been brought in for cleaning up a botched manufacturing and figuring it out. And most of the time it just comes down to communication and experience and knowing what does a manufacturer actually need? What does a marketing team actually need to deliver what you want? And it's communicating in their language, in their way. How do engineers have their own way of understanding things? Marketers have their own thing. Designers, and so there's a lot of different cross communication. And even if we all speak English or any other language, there's still so much technical jargon, so to speak, behind each industry that you need to produce a product that it can be overwhelming and mistakes can happen. Just not understanding what those words mean.
Ian, what would you recommend just in terms of if I want to hire a design firm, what would be some of the things that maybe questions I'd want to ask, or, especially, if I'm a founder and I'm concerned about budget, what should I still make sure is, listen, I know you want to save money, but you just absolutely can't shortcut yourself on X, Y, and Z. Like, what's your advice on that?
The advice on that is that really the key pieces are the upfront work. So a lot of people really want to skimp on design, or they want to skimp on engineering, and those are key places that if you do that, you end up costing yourself more money down the line. And really, it's if you are wanting to do something a little bit more on budget, then it's being willing to cut back product features, and understanding that there's a certain level of what you can get for a price, and cheap can be good, but don't fall into that trap, because if you do the cheap product and you're trying to sell it as not a cheap product, you're going to have future issues at hand. And so, you know, the biggest savings is really do your design work, do your market research. You know, one of the things that I do with clients and require almost every time is that we do some sort of market research, market analysis, you know, consumer level of research, just to make sure, is the product actually going to be marketable? Because I spent far too many years in my early career working on ideas that nobody did any of that, and if no one's going to buy it, then it's a waste of money, and no one's going to be happy. So it's making sure you do those early stage components really is going to save you on the back end, because it's much better to spend a few $1,000s researching everything and then find out we shouldn't do it than to go, okay, well, yeah, we have 20 grand and let's just do what we can for 20 grand, develop a product, get it there and launch it, and then find out it wasn't ready yet, or the market wasn't ready for it, or nobody really wanted to purchase it.
Yeah. So, and Ian, you know, in terms of being the founder of a design firm, what have you done that's allowed you to maybe grow and scale a little bit faster than some other design firms out there, or freelancers, you know, guys that are just doing it on the side?
Yeah, so having done freelancing myself and then working on the design level and now running my own, the scale really just comes from being able to use the designers around me. So I've hired designers, I have a core team, and being able to do that is what allows me to scale, is having that additional expertise. It just adds a level of double checking and making sure that we're doing things right. And, you know, that allows me to focus on the part that I really love, which is, you know, more on project management and making sure the vision of the project is being held. And so that's really where the scale is making sure to hire good designers who have experience that really add to your team. And so that's what I've done, is hire people that match well.
Well, Ian Peterman, you are the founder and CEO of Peterman Design Firm. You're on the web at petermanfirm.com, and that's Peterman, M-A-N, firm.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Josh. Great talking.